Hello, I'm Rebecca Weber. You're watching Better for America, presented by AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens. Now, joining me today is Joe Oltmann. He is the host of Conservative Daily Podcast on frank speech. We have a truly hard-hitting episode coming up, so don't go anywhere.
The Association of Mature American Citizens is the conservative voice for Americans 50 and older. AMAC is fighting for the values that you hold dear. Join today. Together, we can write the course of America.
Joe, welcome to Better for America, and thank you for joining me today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
You know, Joe, you have been really become much more widely known since 2020, and specifically the 2020 election. But prior to that, you were already well established in your field. You were a two-time Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year, which is incredible. Congratulations. And you also founded FEC United. This is a great organization focused on restoring constitutional integrity, preserving faith in education and commerce. So despite all these wonderful credentials I just mentioned, when the time came for you to really, put rubber to the road, so to speak, in the aftermath of the 2020 election, you were attacked. Tell us how your post-election efforts really changed the course of your life.
2020 changed my life in a lot of ways. I wasn't really very politically active. I got involved because I saw what they were doing to our constitutional rights. I was doing very well. I was set to sell my companies, and then I just saw what they were doing to the community and the people around me. And I've lived my life by the idea that that I serve our brothers and sisters, and I've lived that life out. I've sat on multiple boards. I mentored gang members by playing football. I really tried to be an example to people around me. I gave money to get kids to be able to go to private school that otherwise wouldn't have that opportunity. So I've just done a lot of things that I've kind of sat in the background doing and just tried to be a good steward of the capital that God gave me. And when 2020 happened, I stepped out because of what they were doing in our communities. And in large part, I was watching people lose everything that they had, and I couldn't stomach it. And so, I feel like God just led me down a path that I didn't want to be on. Felt like more like a puppet. And then obviously they started writing bad things about me, which is really new for me. I'd never been on the other side of the sharp sword of bad people. And so that led me to be on that call with Eric Coomer. And then when the election happened, and because I'm a system architect expert, and I'm a finalist for Ernst & Young, so they got to go through all my stuff. So I really do know what I'm talking about when it comes to tech. I dug into Dominion voting systems, and then I wanted to validate after I got sued that they could actually do what Eric Coomer said they would do, which is make sure that President Trump didn't win. And sure enough, the evidence became overwhelming. And so it really set my life on a kind of a tailspin of sorts, at least from the professional standpoint of the goals that I've set in my life. But I believe that God judges you by your character, and reputation is that thing that man can screw up.
Oh, yeah. It's wonderful, though, that you're not giving up. You're not succumbing to that kind of fear, which I think is really the motive, if we can scare people away so that they don't speak. And we're talking about an extreme left that wants to fundamentally change America. And it always amazes me how people such as yourself, very successful and previously praised, are so quickly smeared, right? The moment that you don't go along with the pre-approved narrative. But despite this, you continue to fight, you speak truth, and so we here at AMAC commend you for that, because it's not easy. And this is exactly what we need more and more Americans to do, is come out boldly and courageously, because this country is worth it, and certainly our future generations. You say it on your website that courage is more contagious than fear, but it does seem today that so many people are afraid. And in a recent tweet that you posted regarding the border invasion, you said, the Bible says, "Fear not," 365 times. So am I to follow the word of God, or am I to follow the resistance of people? And when I saw that, I thought that that was really powerful. What do you make? Let's talk a little bit about the invasion, because so many people are afraid. rightly so. We have members in the great state of Texas, Arizona, all throughout all 50 states that are personally impacted. Their homes, they have illegals crossing their property. We hear from those people. We know that it's only getting worse and worse by the day, and we see a president that can make change happen. He does not need Congress, yet he does nothing, and instead blames Republicans. Tell us what you make of what's going on. Is it as serious as some are saying, that the country is currently under invasion and that we ought to be prepared for something bigger? What do you make of what's happening, and then what do you plan to make a positive impact or help reverse course, get us on a better course?
I want to just say this. It's not just the Democrats or the radical left that are our problem. It's this establishment elite class that stands against the Americans.
Great point.
I've met many Democrats that are just amazing people that, frankly, they've actually been considered more of a newfound conservative as the line moves
Right.
further and further to the left. And so we really have to understand that the emperor has no clothes. And what we're seeing here is that the American people have been largely left behind by the greed and corruption and institutional rot at every level and every part of our government by both sides of the party that have basically created kabuki theater. And if we look at what happened at the border is more of a manifestation of both sides trying to figure out the conflict of wanting to be good people and give people opportunities. And the victimology that happens to those, especially children coming across that border, and the ability to sustain and take care of the people that are here, that are already here, that are Americans, been here for many generations, many of them veterans. And so what's happening in Texas, Abbott has finally stepped up, but he let it happen for 3 years prior. And so I hold them to blame for saying there's nothing we can do. Our hands are tied, that only Biden has the ability to secure borders. And that's just not true. We all have a responsibility to stand in the gap and to stand against those that would do harm to our community or even to other communities. And, as we found out in the first 9 months of 2021, there was 86,000 children that disappeared. Over 40,000 of those children were under the age of 12. And so we have to really look at the fact that that's over 1,200 children per state that have disappeared, and they're children. I mean, these are small children that are being taken advantage of through the chaos that's being created. And so I'm going to the border. I'm going to stand at the border. I'm going to stand with my brothers and sisters that are going down to the border. And frankly, I don't care what the media says about me. I'm over it. I live in a house with bulletproof glass and thermal cameras. I got an AR-15 next to my bed. I get death threats on a regular basis, and I stand with the idea that, no matter what the sacrifice is, it doesn't add up to the sacrifice of others that have made in order to defend the very right for me to have the freedom that we used to have that's been eroded in this nation. So, I think we look at it from both sides on the humanitarian side too, that we're not offering those people a better life. And we're actually creating a massive amount of a chasm of poverty and chaos for those families as well. But more importantly, it's killing Americans. The fentanyl crisis, the trafficking of women and children, and even small boys. I mean, this perversion doesn't just stay with women and girls. And so I think
No.
as Americans,
It's impacting, it's impacting, everyday Americans. And as you mentioned, it is not a Republican-Democrat issue per se. And certainly we all know great people on both sides of the aisle. But I can't help but say, if our president had any backbone, cared about the people, understood the real threat, I feel that he does live in such a bubble that we would see more action coming out of the White House. So I'm personally disappointed over that, but you're right. Each and every one of us needs to act. We need to speak to other people, educate other people, and stand together shoulder to shoulder. Some other shocking news, and I want to shift and talk a little bit about another border state, and that's Arizona. And this was shocking news to me, Joe, when I recognized that there are things that happen that you think these things could never happen. Specifically, Arizona has been at the center of so many issues, okay, not just the border, but regarding the 2020 and 22 elections. We heard this recording of Arizona Republican Party Chairman Jeff DeWitt attempting to bribe Kari Lake to prevent her from running, and that was leaked. And that led to his resignation. I do want you to take a listen.
Is there a number at which
I can be bought.
That's what it's about.
We could take a pause for a couple of years.
No.
And then go right back to what we're doing.
No. 10 million, 20 million, 30, no. A billion, no. This is not about money. This is about our country.
Joe, this story here, to me, this is groundbreaking. This is not many people are even aware of it. What are your thoughts?
You know, it's funny. The mainstream media stayed away from this, what I call DeWitt syndrome, right? He's a bag man for other people, and he's on the Republican side. See, it's easy for us to identify people who are bad. But the problem is that bad people lie. And so we've been infiltrated by this just massive amount of rot and just evil people. And that's what Jeff DeWitt is. And then Jeff came out and said that he was the victim and that he trusted her and that this should never have happened. But the reality of it is that he didn't just offer her a bribe. He also threatened her life. If you go through it, he said, oh, you know, the cartels are in all 50 states. And if I say anything about this conversation, I'm going to turn the key in my car and boom, it's going to blow up. So he showed a passive intimidation that is used very often in order to warn people of things to come. And so I think Kerry handled it well. I think waiting 11 months was probably the wrong move. She should have put that out 11 months ago. But what is really disturbing is that Fox News, MSNBC, MSN, CNN, they did not say anything about this. And this is one of the biggest corruption scandals to exist. And all I would say to Jeff DeWitt is the only way that you stay safe is that you have to reveal, you have to pull back the curtains and you have to show us who these emperors are. Who is it that is saying that she needs to step out 2 years? And here's the other big thing, is that they believe that they're going to have this transformation done in 2 years. And so they're trying to eliminate people in every position that could stand in the way of the progress to make the next 2 years of transformation towards the World Economic Forum's kind of dastardly approach to kill off 90% of the people in this country and around the world.
Just unbelievable. We hear a lot about Nikki Haley, that she's been bought. What are your thoughts on Nikki? Should she continue in her fight? What kind of message do you think how is that helping America at this point?
Well, you know, she praised Hillary Clinton, which I don't know how you could praise someone that's so amazingly corrupt and terrible. So I think Nikki Haley is just another symptom of the larger problem. And that is there's a complete disconnect from the policies and politics in this country, both foreign and domestic policy, and the American people. And we're largely left behind. They take our money, put it into foreign wars. And I think she'll just be another one of those people that we find connected to, you know, the Bush dynasty, the Clinton dynasty, doing the biddings of people that are either not American or are Americans that look out for self-interest and want to continue this institutional slavery that we face here today. So I think she's terrible. I think she's a terrible human being. But I look at people's deeds, not at what they say. And she certainly has done a lot of bad things to turn her back. And if she can't be loyal to the man that got her into multiple positions and looks for his approval, then how could she in any way, shape, or form be loyal to the American people? And that's what you have to ask yourself. She turns her back. These people turn their back at every turn. So can you trust someone that would do that? And the answer is no.
Now, we know that no election is ever perfect. There's always some sort of shenanigans at some level, somewhere, in some place. It's just human nature. But it seemed that 2020 had more glaring issues than usual. Some election integrity measures certainly have been put in place since that time. Hopefully more will be put in place before November. And here at AMAC and AMAC Action will be and are supremely focused on election integrity. We need Americans to trust the results. But what you're seeing today, in your view, do you think the 2024 presidential election, will be rigged, will be stolen, will be, in other words, and there's a lot of ways to look at this. For example, illegals now that are coming into this country today may very well vote in our presidential elections because, of course, in certain states at the Department of Motor Vehicle, they are given that federal ballot without any proof of citizenship. They know they're not citizens, and without any real ID. What are your thoughts on how the 2024 election is going to shake out when it comes to real election integrity?
Well, I think it's going to take, the prescription for anything that happens like this around the world in history has always been the people. The prescription in World War II, and the reason why Hitler was defeated was because of his own people standing in the way and stopping him from becoming the tyrant and killing people. So we forget that there were so many different times in history. The Roman Empire fell, and that corruption fell as a result of the people standing up. And you say, well, the Roman Empire fell. Actually, the corruption fell in Rome, and they reestablished a government that was more for and to and by the people. So I look at the election in 2024, and we must get to a place. Now you have people like Elon Musk and Andrew Tate and Tucker Carlson and others that are standing up and saying, and I had a conversation with one of those people, and they said, yeah, we have to get to paper ballots in person. You have to have a voter ID, got to be an American citizen. We count those votes at the precinct level. We get rid of mail-in ballots, and we get rid of the machines. And the only way you can reset, maybe someday in the future we can have a place where the machines have an efficient way to be transparent. But right now, that's not the case. And so what we are pushing for right now with the Gideon Project, which is tied to the documentary Let My People Go, which basically shows you very, very quickly and very simply how the election was stolen in 2020 and how it's institutionally been stolen in all 50 states. And frankly, from there, in 2024, if we don't get rid of the machines, if we don't get rid of mail-in ballots, we have a 0% chance of winning elections, and we'll be right back in the same boat with this institutional slavery. But I do believe, God willing, that it will happen in 2024. But if it does not, then sure enough, in the next 2 years, they will usher in some really bad things for the American people.
And that's exactly what our over 2 million AMAC members are concerned about. They recognize that if major change doesn't happen at the state level, state by state, which is why we're focused there, that if we lose the 2024 election in terms of it being a free and fair, where every legal vote counts, then we've lost our country altogether. And I don't know that we'll be able to get it back into the future. Although I'm an optimist, I like to believe in the will and the commitment, the tenacity of the American spirit, the American people. So I thank you for all that you're doing. Before we let you run, Joe, tell us a little bit about your great podcast, the Conservative Daily Podcast, and how people can tune in.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the interview. It's a pleasure being here with you, and I'm now a member at AMAC, so that's awesome. I love that. But
well, thank you. Yeah.
So, Conservative Daily Podcast is on Frank's Beach at noon Eastern, and I go noon Eastern 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. I'm also on Rumble and a bunch of other stations. I'm on 146 radio stations. So if you have the opportunity to hear me on the radio stations in your area, that's great as well. I'm on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all of the different streaming platforms as well. And we just got rated in the politics world the number, 16th most popular podcast in the country. So
That's wonderful, Joe. Congratulations. That's really terrific. So for all of our great members, definitely check him out. Joe Oltmann, love his podcast, the Conservative Daily Podcast. Joe, thank you so much for being here, and hopefully we'll get to have you back again real soon.
All right, God bless you.
Oh, God bless you too, Joe. And to all of you out there listening, don't forget to like and share this podcast with your friends and family. Be sure to join or renew your AMAC membership. Together, we are incredibly strong. We're bringing your voice to each and every state and to Washington on Capitol Hill. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm Rebecca Weber. Have a great day, everyone. Does social engineering from leftist corporations make you feel like we're living in the Twilight Zone? If so, you're not alone, and that's why we're proud to stand behind a wireless company who stands behind your values. I'm talking about Pure Talk, an AMAC-supported wireless company on the nation's largest 5G at half the cost of the big three. So I challenge you to stand with a company who champions your values. Those of you who have always had your neighbor's back, you've pulled yourself up by your own bootstraps, and you still believe that the flag stands for freedom. It's time to join the masses who have fled their old wireless companies for something better. Pure Talk. Pure Talk gives you phenomenal coverage on America's most dependable 5G network or half the price of the other guys with unlimited plans starting at just $20 a month. The average family saves almost $1,000 a year. And as an exclusive AMAC partner, Pure Talk will give you 3 years free on your AMAC subscription. Just dial 844-8-PURE-TALK and mention AMAC Podcast to make the switch. That's 844-8-PURE-TALK, and make sure to mention AMAC Podcast to get 3 years free on your AMAC subscription.